leave us alone.
When the time comes, he must be trained.
Like you trained his father?
This is the Bunzarelli Show.
My name is Joe. I got Khiim in the studio with me. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Good. And just to give you a little history, if you've been following the show, one of the highlights of the series was the when we revisited the prequels.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun because we were able to, come from two generations of Star Wars, we were able to pick it out. So, Khiim, what would you're just off of watching it. How do you feel about this Obi-Wan trailer?
It looks really good. It looks amazing. It just, like you said, since we just got done recording with Bob, just to go back to one of the last things he said, it just really shows the leaps that television programming is taking now to kind of merge that blend between where before you could tell, like, okay, this was produced as a television show and this was produced as a movie. Like, they're kind of really breaking that, they're breaking that merge to where you're seeing good quality TV shows, and this looks amazing.
It looks really good. I think there's a couple of things helping it. So part of the history behind Obi-Wan was when the sequel trilogy came out, they had this idea that they were going to do like the saga, and then they were like, they were trying to pay off that investment real fast. And we know about the stumbles, but there were some great high points, one of them being Rogue One, which was awesome. And then what happened was it was saga, Last Jedi, and then we're going to do our next one, and it was Solo. And Solo kind of was like, had a little flat reception. Not horrible, but it wasn't a big box office smash, and a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Point being was Obi-Wan was supposed to be in the pipeline. There was supposed to be an Obi-Wan movie.
Yeah.
Whatever parts of that script or that concept or the idea trickled down to the show. But the cool thing is it's almost like the right place and the right time. I believe it's better that this is happening now because of the road that was paved with The Mandalorian and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Definitely. I think it's going to answer some questions that we've all been wondering. Everybody's been wondering what's been going on in that particular part of time with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's going to flesh out more of the connective tissue of what makes him. And Ewan McGregor said it best. It's like, how do you go from me to Alec Guinness? Kind of, the mindset, more or less.
Yeah,
you start out with this Obi-Wan that comes out defeated at the end of like basically just butchering his best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, coming out of episode 3, like the bottom.
Like we saw General Kenobi, then we saw just General Kenobi to Hermit Kenobi, basically, where he's a hermit runaway.
Because if you think about the Alec Guinness that you see, it's more like a piece. It would be nice to get to that. Let him level up a little mentally.
Yeah.
But you got to give it some breathing room. You couldn't have done that in episode 3, obviously.
Yeah.
But this is what a TV show is good for, where you could have the time and the patience to explore that. Because it's like, you're not looking. It's not a movie where you're looking for the beginning and the end and the boom, boom, boom. New Vader was coming.
Yeah.
We knew Hayden was back, which is really cool because that makes it let's see that Vader become same thing with Vader. Same thing I was saying about Obi-Wan. Let's see that transition.
And it's just kind of that, and I think it's kind of a redemption thing, kind of the same way with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
how his Spider-Man got redeemed with this last insert to Tom Holland's movie. You know what I mean? It kind of got that come around to where, like, okay, we can accept that, like, your Spider-Man did have a place. I feel like it'll be the same kind of redemption for Hayden Christensen because his performance wasn't received well. And like, now we kind of have a better grip on the importance of what was going on in those movies.
Yeah.
But still, like, his I think it's just a second chance for him. You know what I mean?
I think really, like with the prequels, it was like when it got to the end, it was like, okay, we got to get to point A, point B, point C, establish these things. And like I said, it wasn't on Hayden. Because even like when it
was writing.
We brought it up before too, like his wooden acting. I still believe if you said his lines in James Earl Jones's voice, it sounded right. Yeah. Like James Earl Joe, Darth Vader's dialogue was wooden and stiff like that. I don't think people get that.
Yeah.
So it kind of, they were trying, and he said that's what he was trying to do, whether he was covering it. But it made sense to me. Like Darth Vader is just a wooden, stiff character.
Yeah.
He just is. So it makes it believable. Granted, in Clone Wars, they kind of fleshed him out a little more and they kind of changed him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's some interesting things floating around, some interesting theories. I'm sorry, let me go back to Owen first. So Owen Lars, I like that. That was something that really rang a bell with me.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons. First of all, when you first meet Owen Lars in the Clone Wars, and I mean in Attack of the Clones, he's very quiet, laid back, and same actor, but just that little zinger he threw at Obi-Wan, all of a sudden I'm like, all right, this is the guy that's sitting at that breakfast table at Luke saying, stay away from that old man.
Yeah.
Like, I got that now. And just, he had a little raspiness in his voice, just like the approach. Like, didn't you train his... Now, what
like,
Owen knows...
He trained his father,
Yeah, so now what Owen knows, does Owen know exactly what happened? Or does he know the, from a certain point of view, version of the story? Whatever it is, it's still like, look, last time I saw Anakin, he was cool, and you just brought me back as kid because he, you know... So even from that short perspective, but he's got this... protective thing towards is basically protecting Luke.
Yeah.
And I kind of justified that in my head too, more of the fact that Shmi was his stepmother and Owen's like that actually fleshes out Owen's relationship with Luke a little better. The added of the prequels because Owen's father fell in love and married Shmi.
Yeah.
So Shmi is a part of that household. So even though we just met Anakin for a good, like, whatever, day or two, like, Shmi was his stepmom, his father's, it's Shmi's grandson in his eyes. So it is family to him. More or less than, like, just random dude, because before the prequels came, we didn't understand what Uncle Owen was.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he Anakin's brother or what? So I kind of take that as something like, okay, my dad's gone. What would my dad want me to do? We'll protect his, it's his wife's grandson, that kind of thing. It's my family. In Rebels and the Clone Wars, they kind of established, they did some cool, neat stuff with, they had James Earl Jones voicing a cartoon Darth Vader. And there was things with Ahsoka, and then all of a sudden, like his mask, it was from Rebels. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a kind of cool classic. His mask gets chopped, and you make that connective tissue between Matt Lantern and Vader. So, and somebody had said that on it was actually Rebel Force Radio. Somebody called in. He goes, that's the first time I ever accepted Anakin and Vader, like made the connection. So we could kind of do that again.
Yeah.
Because all he does in Revenge of the Sith, he goes, no, and that's it. Like he gets the suit on, that's it. Now, if you actually see. Especially if it's Anakin moving around in the suit or Hayden moving around in the suit, even James Earl Jones voicing him, you get a couple shots of him with the helmet off, and you can make that would help you make that connection in your head. Like, okay, he is Darth Vader when you go into the...
That's going to be great to see.
And there's something else they got up their pocket, too. That's what I remembered. You got Ewan McGregor. You got Rosario Dawson. Okay? And a lot of people are saying this. I heard it. I always quote Rebel Force Radio because when I like to quote my sources, but they had mentioned it too. But you get that flashback with Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Anakin.
Yeah.
Because if you're starting to show from a fresh perspective, give us a Clone Wars flashback that isn't something from the movies, and then you could de-age and whatever, but all of a sudden show a different version of their relationship that's consistent with the movies, but just have Ahsoka just be there.
Yeah.
And everybody else could put together what they can.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even people that just watch Mandalorian, and there's going to be a lot of people that watch Mandalorian and don't know the Clone Wars, like Bob. Bob's a great example. That Bob, he doesn't watch the cartoons, know them that well. But you would say like, Vader... It would be the short way of telling the audience, like, Ahsoka was trained by Vader.
Yeah.
And make that connective tissue and stuff. There's rumors, too, that Hayden's supposed to appear in Ahsoka, maybe like as a Force ghost or something. But that's cool. Make that connective tissue, which they're focusing on, making that, like, that bigger world.
Yeah.
And bringing stuff together.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what they need to do, is they need to flesh out the world, because that's what made Clone Wars so good.
Yeah.
That's what made the prequels so good. Not to say that the original trilogy wasn't. The original trilogy formed everything, but those two properties fleshed everything out. And that's where we're kind of getting with it. This point in time is like, we need to just get away from the Skywalker saga. We need to see more within the universe,
John, I actually just recently watched the Boba Fett, like, behind the scenes show. And Jon Favreau was talking about something, and he's like, when you take, the whole point of the Star Wars is when you take something in, you got to take in the good, the bad, and the ugly, or whatever. You got to take it all in. You got to accept it all.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about how we went from Boba Fett, and I know you haven't seen too much of it, or I don't know if you've seen it, but John Favreau was saying the Attack of the Clones happened. That's Boba Fett's origin.
Yeah.
Is there. So you gotta go to that Camino stuff, which they did. They went to, they said all these pieces are here, so you gotta use them all. And you have to acknowledge these things happen to make it work, which they do.
And I feel like that's what gives the Star Wars universe so much richness.
Yeah.
Like, how we were just talking about off mic, we were just talking about how the difference between talking about Marvel and Star Wars is just there's so much to go on with Star Wars. They really have almost infinite capabilities of reaching in and doing stuff.
And this is very bold because it's like heritage characters, which is that sketchy area. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the way they've been handling Luke, they're being cool and careful with that. It's almost a little freer to be with Obi-Wan because no, this is Ewan. 10 years after. It's not like we're CGIing Mark Hamill no, here's Ewan, here's the actor, and he's actually, the movie was 10 years ago. He's 10 years older. Yeah. It timeline wise, all just natural aging, it works out better. And like you said about redeeming stuff, because it's my whole thing with the prequels was like the original trilogy was George Lucas wrote and directed the first one. Yep. But then somebody else wrote the second one. Somebody else wrote and directed the third one. Mm-hmm. Idea is great, but it's nothing against it. You need some other brains in the room. And prequels, I think he actually had somebody set to direct the first one, and the guy fell out or something, and he was like, whatever. Paraphrasing more or less, like I'll just do it myself kind of thing. Yeah. But I think it's important to have like a kind of a brain trust, not too much where you got Kathleen Kennedy firing people off movies, but like where you have John. If you watch that behind the scenes stuff where John and Dave, like they have that they're not really they're a little more. This isn't their show, but I know they got their hands in it. Yeah, definitely. Like Dave Filoni's actually got a title, like creative chief of something, where he's got and he's probably, making sure, no, you got to do this. This doesn't add up because even, but he has conversations with John where he goes, well, it should be Luke. Yeah. That gets Grogu and things like that. He goes, if Luke's there, R2's there, but Dave Filoni knows all this stuff in his head. I think they know enough to not mess anything up. Yeah,
everybody kind of asks themselves, "What would Dave do?"
Yeah, I mean they're pulling from Clone Wars. Yeah, those are the Inquisitors. Yeah. They're pulling Inquisitors straight out of Rebels. Mm-hmm. So that alone says they're going for that source material, that bigger universe and everything,
which is great.
And a lot of that stuff, the stuff that Dave did, he started with George, so it's not just like something. It was almost like that was the handing of the baton. Mm. I'm pretty excited about it. Like I said, the Owen stuff's cool. The Darth Vader stuff's cool.
Hayden.
Here's another one for you. So they asked Liam Neeson, would you appear as Qui-Gon? Yeah. And he says, I'm a little snobby for TV. Which I was like, you know what? That almost sounds like you're trying to throw us off a track because... Yeah. No, Liam Neeson, I saw Ted too. You were buying Lucky Charms. Like you're not too big for anything. Yeah. You're just saying something to say something. Because a couple years ago, he was like, I'd love to be an Obi-Wan. Because that makes sense. That's the full circle.
Yeah, definitely.
I had a vision of, for some reason, one time I had like this vision of like Luke at a pod race. Like I was doing a little fan fiction in my head, and I thought like, Obi-Wan be sitting watching the pod race, and next to be like the ghost of Qui-Gon, and they'd just be like talking about stuff. But some kind of thing like that, where Obi-Wan in his darkest hour, or he learns something, communes with Qui-Gon, and we see that ghost, or is it the voice, is it the ghost? Because Obi-Wan's got to learn how to do that. I don't know how. And the other thing is, do we get Yoda? Do we get him communing with Yoda? Yeah. Because that would set up more of like, okay, let's all get on the same page here. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see the developments. See if we see what happened to the Jedi Temple. Because it is six episodes, there's room to kind of that's always the fun part too. Is let's see the state of the galaxy.
Yeah, how are they making touch on it everywhere?
Yeah, and how are they changing? Like Bad Batch was very good about that. They showed like the transition between the clone troopers and the stormtroopers. Yeah. They actually showed you how it went down. So things like anytime they show you how the ships change, how things change, the transition is always interesting to see.
I agree.
But yeah, I'm psyched. Like I said, Moon Knight was a blast. So I'm definitely looking forward to this thing, especially Star Wars. Just like, it's like shooting fish in a barrel for us. So
Yeah, definitely.
looking forward to it. Of course, we'll be there. Khiim, thanks for being here.
No problem, man.
And we'll see you guys
Later.